right, thanks for coming by. My name is Diane. This is ArtsyWisdom, and I was gone for quite a while due to the family activities around our funeral. My late mother-in-law lived to be 105, so it was a lovely event. Saw a lot of cousins, my husband's cousins he hadn't seen in years. She had a lot of it picked out already, so that was really good. And thank you. You guys were so kind. All your words of compassion and caring and condolences. It was very nice. So thank you very much. She had everything picked out. The only thing is that it rained. Like it poured all morning into the afternoon. So we're out there on the grass in the cemetery and it was wet. But anyway, I'm laughing because, it was good. It was a lot of joy-filled moments and memories everybody exchanged. So that was really good. So I'm done. So now I'm going to get back into the routine here. I looked into a few things. I'm going to just quickly read them off and then I'll talk about them after I come back. I ran in Israel. I got into Stephen Miller's energy. Yucky. And I did his astrology. I looked at that and I looked at his past lives. Very interesting. Some of you might already guess who that was. I looked into the ICE raids. The deportation raids, are they going to continue? And to what extent? And I also looked at the Democrats. Are we going to have a rising star? Is there something going to change within the party? Because it seems to be going into quicksand a little bit. This is the image I'm getting. I also looked at the Air India crash and a little into Boeing. Somebody had asked me about Mary, Magdalene, and Jesus. I'm going to save that for the end. They'll be time-stamped. And I also looked at the Virgin Mary. Fascinating. Lovely images. And then, I think that was it. I have all my multiple notes. And those of you who have been here before, take lots of notes. All right, let's get started. I'd love to ask you guys to subscribe if you find something of value here. I appreciate it. Hit the button before I get started. I wanted to address a couple things that I had said in the past. The parade. I don't know if you guys saw that video. They were watching the parade, he and Melania, and she turned her head and gave him the most condescending, disdainful look. I was like, wow, it was so obvious. We all kind of figured she was done, but it's like, I think she can't even stand to be near him, honestly, the way that looked. So I got that image before about the parade with the red smoke. I still see the red smoke. And, when I get these images, I have to decipher them. And I know he's disappointed because he wanted it to look like a big military stand and maybe to be stern and make people afraid of our power. I think that's what he wanted. So I saw the red smoke around it. I still see it. And I think what I imagined is the Russian energy, the Russian parades with their very, very methodical, very smart soldiers, smart meaning, tight, high and tight, very accurate and precise. And I think he wanted that. I know he did. He wanted that, or like North Korea, that whole thing. So the red smoke was almost like he was confused because I think it's like, you see rose-colored glasses. I think that's what it was. He wanted to have it look like that. And he was confused at why it didn't feel right. And why, I think I heard him say, Pete Hegseth, that he didn't like the tone. The tone was all off because the tone was, celebrating it was more festive and it wasn't so stern and we're going to bomb you if you don't like us kind of thing. And the squeaky tank. So anyway, I wanted to adjust that. I also, somebody had been asking me because I had guessed that the Oilers imagined or predicted the Oilers would win. They lost in 5. They got to the finals and they lost in the 5th game or the 6th game, I think it was. Yeah. So sad. Florida beat them again, same as last year. But they were the better team, obviously. Florida was better. And, but I think my heart was wanting them to win, so I have a hard time separating that sometimes. The parade. Yeah. All right. And so let's move forward. I'm going to start off with Israel and Iran. I got into the energy of Netanyahu. He's more to me, I know there's the land of Israel, which is deep with history, culture, energy. Like before, when the dirt collects energy, the dirt, the soil, the earth. Just like people, just like trees, you can talk to plants and they thrive. Things absorb energy. And when there's a lot of war and a lot of fighting and a lot of bloodshed, the earth, absorbs that in that particular location. And people associate it with that. So I see Netanyahu as Israel. I know he's not, but that's the problem. So it's a two-pronged thing here. We've got the land of Israel. And first of all, don't get upset with me about who's not doing what. I'm not going to pick sides here. I'm just going to really generally look at the difference between those countries and how they're seeing this situation. Although I am going to tell you, I have an opinion about Netanyahu. Okay. Not about what happened to the people of Israel, but him particularly. So when I channeled, I did some automatic writing, and I got Israel needs help, wants us to do the dirty work. This is for my angelic beings, my spiritual family guiding me, my angelic beings. He wants it. When I'm saying Israel, I mean Netanyahu wants it for the whole Middle East. He wants to grab our power and use it there. Missiles, drones, those bombs that go into caves where they keep the nuclear stuff. He has no scruples. Bibi. I see him before as a melting ice cream cone. I don't see him like that anymore because that's almost soft and sweet. He's pretty much, I feel like he's not wasted away is not the right word, but he's pretty much melted away, and it's like a skeleton left. I know that sounds weird inside of an ice cream cone, but that's the feeling I get. Scruples is he masquerades as noble. It doesn't mean the Israelis were wronged. I'm not saying that. I'm saying him particularly. And the funny thing is he reminds me of Vladimir Putin's vibe. They both are protecting their country. Like they have an ideal. They have an imagined version of their country. I have this dominance is the word that I got. My country is the words that I got. My country above all, dominance. Because I know Netanyahu I think he wants to get rid of everybody on the Gaza Strip. That's from his perspective, I see, and he wants Israel to take that land back. So that's one prong. We've got that man, the leader. The other one is, I got that the land is sacred. Israel's land is sacred, and it was theirs. And back in the day, John Paul the second, from 80s and 90s, he said they were the chosen people. The Jews are the Hebrews, or the Jews are the chosen people. He agreed to that. So always remember that. But their land is sacred, there has been bloodshed and the terrorism and Hamas and all the other terrorist groups. The old ways of dealing with that can't work anymore. And I know the Middle East has been around since ever, beginning of time. But the words I'm getting is they are free. Israel is free, but surrounded by enemies. That's the other words I got. So it's really hard this is their karma. Israel's karma. Take it or leave it. This is what I'm saying. This is how I feel. Like I said, I'm not mad at any, Jews or whatever. It's all, that's your viewpoint, or that's what it is. But things have to shift out of that old karma, and but it may take a long time. It says, but the other thing I got, which is really cool, they said that miracles are more likely to happen there, and I don't know why. They said it's very possible, more likely in that area of the world. I don't know why. Because miracles happen every day, every second. But they said because of whatever, the history there. Hamas was horrible, hideous. But I see that everybody in the region, everybody has to take baby steps towards peace. And it's not easy, and it won't be easy. And there's whole peoples that don't want to ever have peace. Many can't and will not. And then out of Gaza, I told you. So, like I said, that's how I'm envisioning. Netanyahu is one part of it, but the country and the people, they're completely different energies. That's the feeling I get in the land. So when it comes to Iran, I got an image just of the country, not of the leaders, just of the country. It's hard on top, and almost looks like it's filled and big and giant, but just below that, it's empty. It's like they pretending that they have all this stuff, like I'm trying to picture not like an egg, but something round, and it's kind of hard and crusty, but it's in a good way, just solid. But underneath it's empty, like it's pretend. They also, vacuous is the word I got. Iran wants to dominate too. And then I saw them with a wall next to their country, whatever, here's Iran, here's Iran with their round thing with the vacuous space underneath, and here's a wall. So I know Iraq is between them and Israel, and there's something that Iran is doing or is planning that gives them either the symbol of a wall, the symbol of some sort of protection, and it can't get through from Israel. And I know they've been doing a lot of that. Maybe it's those golden dome things or shooting out drones in the sky or missiles. Then I looked to see if, Trump will pull the trigger within 2 weeks, like he says, because he's got plans, not sure, has to talk to people. He's hoping that Iran will come to the table, which I do think they want to. I do think they will. But Israel is not Israel, Netanyahu and his administration they're very proactive is the word, I guess, is I'm looking for. Very proactive, and they don't want to wait for them to gain nuclear materials enough to create a bomb. So that's why they're doing this preemptively, supposedly. But I don't feel like Trump will ever, I just don't see it right now. When I get my go remote viewing, it's in those moments, it's in that time. I don't feel like he's going to do that right now. I think there's too much pushback here at home. I'm in Canada, but North America. And his base does not want that. Plus, the creation of all those enemies greater from it just would open up a Pandora's box. So I do feel that he will do a minimum of something. I feel like Israel's like so amped up. They're so impatient. They want us to help so bad. I have this sense that we're going to, there's a lot of pressure from them. There's also the agreement that they threw away that Obama had put together, and Trump said it was terrible about the nuclear stuff, and he said it was terrible. And so they're trying to get back to that. I think Iran is going to, I have this sense though, they're going to say they're going to do something and actually they're going to lie about it. Because they want this to stop right now. And so but I think some intentions there, but ultimately it's not going to continue. It's almost like a temporary thing. But anyway, going back to the orange knucklehead, I do think he's sending ships. I think he's already got ships out there. And I do think they're going to give Israel some munitions. No soldiers. I don't feel like there's any jets. No, I don't feel like there's any jets. I don't think he wants to risk any lives. Honestly, I don't think Trump wants to. And I think he's going to keep talking and saying that we are working through this deal. Now that's today, you know, who knows tomorrow, but I feel like a lot of things can happen, you know, a lot of bombs could be dropped, but that's what I'm getting from him right now. I feel like, because we'll make more enemies, and I think the military people, there's a lot of people like Hegseth. Did you guys see him in front of the Senate committee? It was about budgets. Oh my God, he's so like slippery, like an eel. Just cannot. And I saw him going back to the booth, and I'm totally getting little hits here and there. He is doing that again. So don't let him tell you he's not. No, like he's telling you, but he's definitely doing that again. And he's getting this amped up sense of importance. Well, he had it. It's even getting bigger. He's just a matter of time before he blows himself up and implodes. That's it. Before I get into our happy pants guy, Stephen Miller, who everyone just loves, I just looked quickly at Air India. I really tried to see what happened there. And that one guy in 11A, I think his seat was, walked away. How do you reconcile that when everybody else died? I can't. It's so crazy. I got a few things. At first, I saw there was several wiring issues. That's what I saw first. And something was missed, but it wasn't visible. It was more deep in there. But then there was the air. There was no lift. There was something about the air that needed to be, I want to use the word, sucked up something or other. There was no exchange. There was like a vacuum. Something was supposed to get sucked up in there to give the lift that they needed, the engine somehow. And I don't know if a part was degraded. Maybe they didn't use the right tolerance for the metals, or they kind of cheaped out on this one thing, or over time it degraded. It's something, I got the image of a circular thing. So when I got circuitry and wiring, it might be that, or it could be this air that was not being, airplanes, they have the wings and it has to get lift from the air moving under. There's something that wasn't getting sucked up that could give it the lift it needed. And I don't know if it was a mechanical thing that broke or this wiring that, now I feel like it was more mechanical. I feel like there's a metal thing or something jammed or something in there. I know that's super vague. There was a vacuum, air propulsion, no air was sucking and it was blocked. And then I got the word diverter. So maybe there was a thing that diverted it once you took off and it didn't move it all the way. And, like a valve that didn't completely close and they couldn't get the suction. I was married to an aerospace engineer for a long time and I still didn't learn anything, but it's something. I feel like it doesn't matter because all those people have passed, but Boeing will have to, again, their airplanes. Now, I looked at them and I saw that they will divest a bit. They're going to get sued right and left for this, right? And I feel like they're going to break up the company into sections even more because, they have different divisions. But I feel like the parts, certain areas are going to be secluded or sequestered that do different things that somehow is going to protect them more. Not about this flight particularly, but down the road to save them money, and be more focused on safety in their particular area instead of everybody builds the aircraft in one location, which they might, but there's sections, or the commercial aircraft, military aircraft, or helicopters, whatever it is. I feel like they're already in different divisions, but I feel like it's going to be broken up even more. And the Senate, they're going to be called to task again. They're going to be yelled at again. Alrighty, so let's, it's crazy. His birthday is one day after mine. And August 23rd, mine is the 22nd. But he's way younger. He's not even 40. And those of you who've been here before, I've said this, he looks to me, his past life with Joseph Goebbels, I don't know how to pronounce it exactly. The energy of him is almost exactly the same. I feel like he was one of Hitler's henchmen, and he had a lot of power, and similar to Mr. Miller. You know, we blame Trump for everything, and he's the head, this talking head and the leader. But the people he has around him are devious and racist. This guy is, Miller is, and he just hates people. He just hates people. So, he's a beast man. That's the first I got. And his karma is being tested. This life is about the karma being tested. I looked up Goebbels' son. He's a Scorpio. I didn't look beyond that. I know he's a Scorpio. He was a Scorpio. And Scorpios tend to get deep, and the worst part, they get in the dark stuff. They dig deep. Sometimes they make great psychologists because they don't mind getting in the darkness and rooting around, but they also can understand people's and their deepest obsessions. It's kind of an obsessive sign. Not all bad. I'm sure a lot of you are Scorpios. The best sign of a Scorpio is strength, power, sensitivity, and a deep feeling, like a power to do good. There's that too. And to look deep into problems and research is great. Scorpios are great at research. Anyway, so Miller, I looked, a person whose South Node is their past lives. It's the experiences they bring into this one that you're supposed to evaluate and clarify, challenge yourself with this life. And by the end of the life, you're reaching for that North Node. You're challenging yourself. It's being tested all the time, and you feel drawn to do that, but it's really hard, whatever sign that is and where it is in your chart. Well, guess what? Mr. Miller, it's got a Scorpio, like Goebbels. Scorpio on his midheaven. I'm sorry, Scorpio South Node. So his previous life, it was a Scorpio energy. So that matched up. And he also has Pluto, which rules Scorpio, at the top of his chart in midheaven. So that, where your Pluto is, beside your nose, is the area of your life that is where your healing can take place or where your growth can take place. Or your karma pattern repeats. That's what it can be too, and you redo it, and you have to start over again. His Pluto is in the top. It's very big in his chart. That Pluto, he's heavily Plutonian or Scorpion, besides some other stuff, which I'm going to tell you about. And he shows that. He wants everybody to see that power. He has Mars. Let me read this, make sure I don't get it wrong. And his ascendant is a Capricorn, which is like a Saturn person, which is steadfast and responsible, but sometimes they're very ambitious, and they want to be in the world and have money and be important. So he's got that. His moon is with Uranus in Sagittarius. So Uranus is like an Aquarian energy, even though it's in Sag. It makes a person cold. It can be. I shouldn't say that because I have an Aquarius ascendant. I don't mean to be cold sometimes. I'm just intellectual. Anyway, Moon and Uranus sometimes makes a person so intellectual that they don't connect with people. They're aloof. And it's in Sagittarius, which is big picture, but Sagittarians seem to know the truth. They think they know the truth. And that's on the low end. Like, they're also the great teachers of the world, the university professors, spiritual leaders. In fact, he has some really interesting spiritual stuff in here, which is fascinating to me. So he has this emotional need to know the truth. He knows the truth, and he wants everybody to know that he knows the truth. And the truth is that brown people are bad, apparently, and we need to get rid of them. And he wants to get rid of all the people that aren't supposed to be here. Now, that very direct, that very intense, when he talks on the news or whatever, you see him on TV, his Mercury is conjunct Mars. Mars is ruled by Aries. And his Mercury and Mars are in Leo, fire signs. Mars is ruled by fire, or Aries, and Mercury is in the fire sign of Leo. And together, it's like a super intense, direct, you could be a great debater and you never back down. That could be it. Or you just vitriol and spitting out negativity, and it's opposing Pluto. So that even exaggerates it further. And that Jupiter is in his first house. So he is about getting big all over the world. He's ambitious. He likes to feel he has enough money. But as I meditated on him, I felt a self-hatred. I felt a deep self-hatred within him. And he also feels like he's racing. Maybe it's that past life where he died in the war, you know, and he's trying to get it all done. Because sometimes when you have a past life and you die in that age, say you die when you're 35 or whatever it is, when you get to be that age in the present time, sometimes you don't die, but you have a sense of something is going to happen, or you fear things or dread, or your environment somehow converts into the energy of that previous life's situation. Not that you'd be killed or in prison or anything, but something where you'd feel trapped or you feel like you can't get out, or, I mean, whatever that situation was in the past life, it repeats in a different way, modern times. So I don't know what age that Goebbels died, when he was alive, obviously, sometime in the war. But I have this sense of this deep hatred he has of himself. And you know, there's an old saying, when you judge others, you really are self-judging. Because people that judge others believe that we should all judge others. And they're judging themselves constantly. So it's that mentality. So he's always judging himself. He acts like he's not because he's shooting out arrows out of his eyes. But let's see, what else? So I wanted to look to see if he, in the transits right now, what's happening, because I thought, well, maybe he's going to run into trouble, you know. Not so much. I didn't see that. And maybe there's other astrologers that do. But I kind of use the spiritual understanding as well as the astrology. His future, like within the next 8 months or so, looks okay. I feel okay. I did feel like I feel like he has a sense of empowerment greater and greater and greater. I also saw him as a pack of cigarettes, like smoke cigarettes that, you know, ashes, but they're solid, like black sticks in a box. Anyway, not nice, you know, you open a pack of cigarettes. I never smoked, but that smell, it smells so good. Not like that. Black charcoal sticks. Anyway, so he's got Pluto transiting his first, so he's going through massive changes, and sometimes that is your whole world changes because you are changing from within. But I have a sense from his birth chart, he's got a lot of fixed signs that don't want to change. And Pluto is, you know, that Scorpio at the 10th house is not going anywhere. He's going to have that Saturn, Neptune, and Aries in his third house. And he's a writer. He's a speech maker, communicator, obviously, whatever, however you want to believe the communication. But that area is going through his third house of communication. And he might find that people are going to fight him on a lot more stuff. And that is when, I think that was next year. It starts next year, September 20th. In that ballpark. He's starting to feel it. And then he's going to have Mars on his Pluto, which in the 10th house, which could cause a lot of sudden changes by September. But it also could be related to his family. His kids something could suddenly happen to his kids. I don't know if his relationship with his wife is good. I don't know. But there's love life could grow in one way or the other, but it could be business partnerships too. So he might find that he changes his partner in more ways than one. Perhaps he and the orange knucklehead don't see eye to eye anymore. So that's going to go through some changes from September to next April. I also got that when I was meditating on him, he lives in a state of denial. Besides the self-judgment, he lives in a state of denial. Neptune's in his 12th house. If he wanted to, he could be a force for good, to be vocalize the underserved, stand up to people and be strong, and cause transformation in, in big picture stuff, and do it for the right reasons. Because he had a life, not the last one, but he had a life where he was a spiritual person, maybe a shaman or something, or a monk or whoever. Now I feel like it was back sometime in a Celtic maybe, or somewhere, maybe Africa. I don't know if it was from Africa, where there's brown people and black people. Anyway, where he was, maybe that is it. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's part of his deal because of the self-hatred. Anyway, where he was a medicine man or a tribal leader that was the spiritual person. He was totally that, but that's been a long time. This life is super intense for him, and he thinks it's great. And he's getting through it, and he's doing all these wonderful things. But so much karma he's dealing with. And like I said, he's still in anger. And so his North Node, where he's supposed to be going, is away from that Scorpio into his home, Taurus. Deal with things that are natural, and some of it's about money and security, but love and taking care of the earth. That's where he should be going, and family and growing things with his hands. I don't know if Mr. Miller will ever get there, but maybe in some way, shape, or form. Anyway, so then I looked into ice. I just realized what I wrote on my paper. I shouldn't laugh because it's very serious. Ice. I got summer big splash, and I picture ice cubes falling into cold water. Ice. And I saw big blue cities too. So there you go. Again, blue cities are going to be big. And I also saw other countries following suit, like Italy, the UK even, really putting pressure or coming up with a strategy where they are saying, well, if they can do it, we can do it. I know it's different countries, and some of it may not even be sanctioned by the government. It could be like vigilante stuff. I don't think that's Italy so much, or the UK, of course. It's more other countries that are tired of immigrants. Anyway, did you guys see that? It was a short I saw. These two brothers, they're both in the National Guard, Hispanic family. The mom, they were in their uniforms, and they escorted her to her immigration hearing in Chicago. And they were worried because a lot of times these people are getting these texts or saying, come to your hearing or the court appointed time, and they get there and the ICE grab them and they, take them away. So these two brothers escorted their mom to this hearing. I mean, you only see her go in, you don't see her face, and you see them. I don't know what would have happened, but nothing happened. She was very uneventful. She went in, they came out, and nothing. But I wonder what they would have done had they tried to take her. I found that interesting. But weren't they good boys? Oh, just love it. Anyway, so that was really good. So when I saw the Department of it's Homeland Security, but what does I stand for? Oh my gosh. It's later in the day after a long week. It's Friday, so my brain's not functioning very well. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Of course that is. It's under, I think it's in the Homeland Security is the oversight department. Anyway, they say they're about people committing crimes, but they're even taking, it's so frustrating. So angry about it. Anyway, so I see a lot more people hiding, obviously. And somebody had asked me about farmers and when are they going to because Trump said he was going to make some changes so they weren't going to raid the farms or the restaurants or the meat packing plants or whatever it was that these are, workers are at. And I do see that they are going to ease up. They're already easing up right now, actually. But the reason they want to go there is because they can get a lot at one time. And they're being tasked to take out, of course, there's crazy numbers. 21 million came in since Biden. I don't think that's accurate at all. But he's saying they're all going to, they're trying to get these great numbers like 3,000 a day. So it's quantity over quality, honestly. But so I do see a lot are hiding. And I do see a new online program, app, secret dark web thing where these illegal immigrants, I know there's a lot of advice and a lot of legal stuff out there, but this is different. This is more to help them hide, basically, like a modern day underground railroad. And I do see the ICE department resources growing thinner because they're spread out thinner. And I see them going to the blue cities, so Chicago, LA, New York, up probably in the Northwest. More about the big cities. I don't, it's funny. I see them in Phoenix as much. There's so many Hispanic people in Phoenix. I just don't see how that's going to happen. But Homan wants to gather, that guy, what's his name? Tom Homan wants to gather those more. There's going to be shortages in the summer of food. I don't think it's going to be like completely none, but there just won't have, there's some of it might just die on the vine because there's nobody there to pick it up, pick it or whatever, or the meat processing plants or whatever, dairy farms. They need these people and are, and I think Miller in his head, I saw this, he wants to reseed, he wants to take out all these people and make, it's the image of like you're cleaning out something and it makes it more efficient, but also there's more room for everybody else. Like he's like, well, if all that dirty stuff was gone, then we'd have a cleaner space and the jobs would come back and we'd just be us, just us. Anyway, and then I saw a blanket over the whole United States, and they're trying to blanket the United States. Besides those big cities where there's a big concentration of ICE agents and stuff like that, I see them blanketing the country in more of a thinner way because, like I said, I don't see them getting. Maybe they'll get a little bit more money, like a special emergency fund, but I see these holes all over this blanket, and these immigrants, illegal or otherwise or legal, they're sticking their head out and they're hiding and they're sticking their heads out all over this country, like little holes. And the ICE agents are trying to do like whack-a-mole, see if they can catch them, but it feels inefficient. It doesn't feel efficient. It feels like they're spread too thin. There's not enough money and they're trying to do too much. And the purpose isn't there anymore. The spiritual backing and the justification has long been gone. But there's no natural law after that initial man-made push for this to happen. It will weaken. But they're also going to do these displays. I feel like these showing of force, kind of like what they did in LA. And I guess the court upheld Trump's ability to keep the National Guard there in LA for now. Yeah. So, I mean, okay, I don't want crime. Nobody wants crime. But protests where nobody gets vandalized or nothing gets hurt, that's fine. But shows like that, big displays, or he's got to call in the National Guard. I don't feel like, well, maybe in the Northwest, there might be some more up there, displays, Portland, that area. But it's not going to stop, my point. But it's going to get more. There's going to be something bad. That the other thing is, some big court challenge will stop them like in 8 months. They'll make it like come to a soft stop. They'll still happen, but it won't be as harsh. some really sad situation happens. Really sad. I mean, this is a lot of sadness, but something specific that, like, they show kids being rounded up or something, and it's going to really fire people up more so than they even are now. And the ICE agency will consider it a success, but we see it as evil and cruel. I mean, people need their due process. Okay, they can be deported, but do it in a rational human way. It's just terrible. And a lot of them aren't really needing to be deported. They just want to make it look like, we want to get all the brown people out. All right. Just going back, let me see. Just Stephen Miller, I forgot I wrote this. I told you he wanted the U.S. to recede, go back to the times, or make it clean and nice, or none of those dirty things are here. And it's all about self-hatred. I told you that. But I also see him doing things behind Trump's back. Stephen Miller, I see him sneaking around because he feels this sense of such power. And I know Trump has all his sycophants that might tell on him, but there's something sneaky that Stephen Miller, and maybe it's something about this deportation part, and I don't think Trump knows about it, because if he did, he'd have to deny it, something like that. And it's also behind Congress and leaders. He hates all the limits. He hates the limits. He just wants, and it reminds me of the Goebbels kind of vibe. He hates it. And what did I see? Oh, I saw Stephen Miller, looking at himself in a mirror, and he really doesn't like himself. He thinks he's so unattractive. He really does. He does not like how he looks. Thinks he's ugly. And it goes back to that self-judgment or that self-hatred, and it's this weird projection on other people. Okay, so our issue for the next election is, will the Democrats, the DNC is kind of shredding. The leaders are not agreeing, and people are resigning. And there's not a strong leader yet that is coming to the surface. So I meditated on that to see is there somebody that's going to come out, come up and lead and be passionate. So I did see, and then something unified. Oh yeah, and I was coming up with a new party that isn't Democrat or Republican, centrist, but practical. I think, so I was coming up with names. I put it in ChatGPT. Common Ground, United Independence, Rational Citizens Party. I like Rational Citizens because our practical is a really word, because it's a government. It shouldn't be emotional. It should be a governing thing that we allocate budget to, and support social systems and military, and so anyway, that's my throwing it out there. Democrats, I asked about when they get united, and I look at them and I saw green, so that tells me it's in the healing phase, and that also green is the sign of the heart chakra. There's a lot of passion in the Democratic Party. There is in the Republicans. They're just more organized lately. They've been working on this for decades. And we have such disparate groups, really progressive central Democrats and stuff. And it's a little disjointed. So I looked at AOC. She's not it. I looked at Hakeem Jeffries, who I used to really think he was something, but I don't think he's going to do in it. And I saw that one woman who's a senator now from Michigan. She reminds me of Elise Stefanik, but I know that's not her name. I'll put it here. She was challenging Hegseth. She was awesome. I liked her. She's a woman, though. I don't know if we'll, in the U.S., be able to elect a woman. I just don't, right now, I don't see that happening. So I looked at like a man from the Midwest, kind of like Pope Leo is from the south side of Chicago. He'd had a mass at Comiskey Park. So awesome. Anyway, he's a White Sox fan, south side. And some kind of vibe like that. a real down-to-earth person, but not super flamboyant, like Tim Walz, but it's not Tim Walz. I don't feel like it's Tim Walz. Much more centrist, kind of like Obama, because Obama was, his mom was in Kansas and he grew up and then Chicago. He's more Midwest kind of mentality, although city of Chicago. The person I imagined is not very charismatic, like I said. But I think we're still struggling with the voice. We don't know as a party who we are. We haven't seemed to be able to coalesce that. But I do feel like there's a really big, wise leader for 28. I do feel by then, I know that's a long way away, but the midterms are going to make a huge change. We're going to have lots of changes in the midterms. And because a lot of the positions or the leadership will change, well, it'll probably just be hitting walls right and left and everything will be blocked. But at least things won't go through like they have been going through recently. But 28, I do feel like somebody good is coming. So that made me feel better. But we're still going through a period of change and of restructuring in the Democratic Party. And I really think it would be good if we came up with a practical citizen brigade or something like that. I don't know. Something where people are logical. The logical citizens. Anyway, I think that was it. Before I forget, I looked into Brian Kohlberger, the man who is suspected of taking out those young college students. And I have not recorded that, or I've recorded it, but I haven't put it out yet. It's like a funny thing. I don't feel like it's a negative thing. I mean, it is. It's talking about negative things, but it's the energy. I want to make sure it's the right time, and so. I did him and I'm going to do a couple together and I haven't put them together yet. So, but we're going to talk about Jesus right now. So I meditated on him and, there's the cultural references. There's the history, the Bible, the different religions that have Christ as their savior. So I have that in the back of my mind. So I'm really trying to separate that and just focus on other realms, see what I get from that. So I asked Christ, I said, I just got this warm love and hugs feeling. Just an immense feeling of peace and love, unconditional love. Just lovely and kind and good and true, really. And I could depend on him kind of thing. And like a father, always there for you. It's the feeling I got. I asked, we're here right now. I asked him what's happening right now. He says we're here to learn to be well amidst the turmoil. So it's like a practice, like he did. He had to cut through his experience there in his lifetime and create the blessing of him giving him himself for the rest of us. And it's not exactly the same thing, but it's like within this turmoil swirling is for us to learn to be well, to come back, to live in our knowing of peace and centered. And that can just happen. It's going to happen. But right now we're okay. Today we're here. We're eating, we're drinking, we've got all our faculties, arms and legs. Things happen, people come and go, but we're okay. And living in that place, peaceful place of faith is everything. He also helped me when I had some images from when I was a little girl, and it showed me that when I was praying when I was a little girl in the church I used to go, which is now, I think, torn down or decrepit. So he says the other thing, some ideas. He says, send the love of God and Jesus or Christ into Trump's heart. I've had this happen before with that as a suggestion from him or angels. Send it to Trump's heart. Send it to him because he's another one that really is self-hated. Doesn't act like it because he wants to destroy everybody and he's a big bully. But bullies just don't like themselves. They really don't. And he's just destroying everybody around him to prove that he's good. He's okay. But send that into his heart. Send that love of Christ into his heart and send it as much, wrap it in healing as much as we can. That's his suggestion. But he said, send it into Stephen Miller's heart too. But the image I got was it's really hard as a rock. He's a tough one to crack. Not like he's any better or worse than Trump. It's just whatever he's dealing with is very rigid and hard. So he needs it more than anybody. He says that is his path. He is serving his ego self and idolizes greed and power, not a God, right? Although he can translate it to whatever he wants, but it's not. He says, all we can do is ask for angelic beings to give them the message of love and forgiveness, to open their hearts and minds. He says, live in the knowing that this is not all. This is not all. This blink of an eye that we're living in. It's not just because what you can see, this isn't everything. This is just our 3D world, right? There's so much more. He says, infinite light drowns out the dark fears in the 3D world. Infinite light meaning the faith and love of God, of the pure love that is Christ and God, and that God is, God and the Spirit, the universal love of the Creator is ours. We can use it anytime we want. I use that all the time because I have to get back into the knowing and having faith. Because I need that. It drowns out all the dark fears in the 3D world that we're dealing with on our day-to-day basis. Faith. But he said there are times to speak and act. And I'm picturing him, knocking all the coins out of the money changing tables. But he said, yet living in that state is unhealthy. He said, pray to Gabriel to speak to leaders. Pray to the Archangel Gabriel to speak to the leaders because he's the angel with the messages, and to speak and get in their ear. Maybe he can whisper in them. Pray to Archangel Michael to fend off evil forces and protect people. So if you find there's perhaps somebody is going for an immigration hearing, or somebody is traveling, or you feel like they're being surrounded by negative people, ask Archangel Michael to protect them. And it just takes that thought in that second, and he's there. And we can all ask. It's not like there's a limit. To protect yourself, the evil forces. Protect your mind, to cut off the negative thoughts. Cut them away, and just allow light and the love and faith of God within you in Christ. And Raphael, Archangel Raphael, the healer of body, mind, soul, and spirit. He's helpful to get physical needs met. Food, shelter, clothes, work. If you need a job, trade, tools, he's there to help you with those few tangible things too. And like I said earlier about the Middle East and the miracles, they happen every second. If you live in that faith, things can change in a second. But it's not a wishful thinking. It's a knowing. It's a faith that it is now. And so it is, Of Mary Magdalene, the one who was always protecting and saying if those without sins can cast the first stone, right? I felt when I got into her energy, I felt it so intense and in a positive way, like big and powerful. And she's very old soul. And I felt like she was the most earthly being between the three of them, the Blessed Virgin, him and her. She's the most earthly soul energy. And I also saw, and I know this seems weird, I don't know how this can be, but I feel like they were brother and sister at some point in his, I know he's the Son of God, right? But I feel like he entered that life to be the Son of God. I do feel like his soul is bigger than that. It was bigger than that. And I think they knew each other from another place, time, maybe on the other side, maybe in the heavenly realms. They're from their own spiritual family. They're together. And so the other thing I got was, how did Jesus get here? Why is he here then? And he's a human man, right? He was a human being. He was born. I mean, if you believe the Bible and everything. And, oh yeah, I figured out his birthday too, as astrology. It's not Christmas, obviously. They changed, the church made it Christmas so it could absorb the pagan holidays. But I looked at his chart and I saw it right around March 8th or 9th, but I got 2 different years. 03 BC minus 3 BC or 5 BC. And I saw certain aspects. Supposedly the Magi saw, I think they say it's Venus conjunct Jupiter, and he would have been born in April of a year or two around that time. But I mean, I do feel like there was a star in the sky, but I don't know if it was necessarily those, because Venus conjunct Jupiter would have been really bright. I feel like Jupiter was high, and I do feel like it was in the sky, and I think they were studying the movements of the stars. But what do I know? But that's what I did. I looked it up. So somewhere, I think he had a less strong Aquarian energy, Pisces, of course, because it's a sign of the fish, and love and kindness and compassion. But people were afraid of him. So he would have had a Uranian energy of a rebel. And also some Aries in him to fight. And so I think there's a combination in Neptune. But I saw his soul come down like a shot. You know, when people pass, they shoot up into the heavens. Like a rocket. Not even less faster than a rocket, like a spark, like a UFO, if you can imagine, but tiny, just shooting. But I saw his light was more of a stream. And it was a shot from God, or the pure love of the universe, the creator. And it was timing. It was actually this exact moment where that energy was perfect to come down. It was right for him to shift the earth. He came down to shift the earth, and obviously he did in a lot of ways. But there's something about the way he was here in that moment, you know, right around Muhammad, and is it Buddha? A lot of these prophets are ancient wise men, came down around the same time, and the energy was open. We were open as an earth. We were ready to evolve. And it probably was to do with Pluto changing signs or something. But I saw him like that. He came down as very specifically in this time into Mary, the Virgin Mary. So I wanted to see, was she really a virgin when she came, when he was here? So I need to look at my notes here because I can't read. So to answer the question real quick is, I think it was a combination. I don't think it was an immaculate conception, but she was chosen to have him. He came down into her body. And I'm not saying no, absolutely. But I feel like it was more of a timing thing too, where she happened to get pregnant, didn't know it. And Gabriel came, the angel came and spoke to her and said, you're going to be having, giving birth to the Son of God or whatever. And yeah, I was right. I don't know what I was thinking. So I think Gabriel came and spoke to her And she was like at that point an earthly child, a being, a woman in those days. But she was transformed. I don't know, having him, living his life, watching him be the speaker, the changing of the world, and to get crucified. But in her, she was changed completely. She is no longer part of our world, like earthly beings where we come and go and incarnate. No, that life was her transcendence. She was changed from him, and having that faith, or that carrying him and living that life. He did that. I don't think when this happened, she wasn't prepared, obviously, to know that. But it took her entire life, or even when she was just carrying him, she knew early days when he was a child. That was it. But she is an angelic being on the other side. So if you want to pray to her, I do pray for her, because she was here. And if you need anything for your family, help with motherhood, or even help with your children, or family stuff, or, giving guidance, I've asked her lots of times. Wonderful, wonderful energy. So she's up there too. She is, I have an image of Jesus at the right hand of God, like the scripture says, but it's, she's like that too up there. She is in this heavenly realm with these evolved, amazing spiritual beings. And she looks down here. She looks down to earth because she was here and she understands. The people who were here understand, or the beings that were here understand. So anyway, I thought it was beautiful. And does she have any messages? Just as love your children. Be there. Don't assume they're never going to get better. There's always redemption. There's always change. There's always time. And everybody has their purpose, and you might not understand it. She feels so soft. As she said, the aggression and the darkness that's floating around the world right now has always been here. It just takes different shapes, different people, different energies. And so live in the faith and live in the peace in your heart, and do your best as a human. Do your best and love each other. Okay, with that sentiment, a lovely message. Anyway, thanks again for you guys, all your comments, likes, and all of my new subscribers. Thank you again. And if you have any more comments or questions, like I said, I have a running list, and I'd love to hear from you. All right, till next time.